Welcome to another episode of Crosstalk. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will be your host for the next 30 minutes as we attempt to do with this particular show, with the format of this program, is to keep the residents of Whitman and Hanson, the two communities that we serve, informed. And we use a couple of different platforms, usually a variety of topics that are community-based, whether we discuss issues in the community, maybe there's an upcoming election, town meeting, whatever it needs to be discussed. Maybe there's something new in the area, and it's a topic for discussion. That's what we use this program for. Again, to better inform those that we serve in the two great communities, Whitman and Hanson. It is election season, election 2018, as the sister program that we have, Bring It On, recently did interviews with candidates running for office. Crosstalk, we will have candidates who are running for office as well. Today, I am pleased to bring you a gentleman who is seeking your vote come Saturday, May 19th. We have Mr. Fred Small, sir.
Oh, thank you. Nice to be here.
Welcome back. I think you've been here before. Haven't you done the show before?
No.
This is your first time.
My first time.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
I
I thought this was about Bruins and Celtics.
It could be.
Yeah, okay.
Don't talk about the Bruins. I'm upset.
Very disappointed.
Very, very disappointed. Although they got a young squad, and if you look back, and I want to go off on a tangent here, but if you look back at the start of the season, I wasn't hopeful with all the young guys, Jake DeBrusk and Denton Heinen, and I'm like, Charlie McAvoy I was okay with because he did okay in the playoffs last year, but I still felt that he had some grooming. But my goodness, the talent, the depth. Celtics, well, sky's the limit for them. We'll see what happens.
We'll see, but the Bruins, getting back to them a little bit, and hockey is a passion. While they grew, second, third, and fourth line, where were they? I mean, they checked out.
You're playing a better team, though.
Yeah, you are, but you didn't have that Bruins heart. You didn't feel, the one thing you always had with the Bruins, you had the lunch pail gang.
Yeah, Terry O'Reilly, Rick Middleton.
Yeah.
Nifty one, yeah.
I know Taz, I go back to being a little kid and filling up
Sure.
the garden with Boston Braves tickets.
Number 24.
Yeah.
Well, you are on the ballot come May 19th.
Yes.
Seeking your third term.
Third term.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. For folks who don't know, who've never seen you on this program, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm married. Been in Whitman since the mid-'90s. Two wonderful kids that both live in Whitman. More recently, my daughter, her husband, and my 3 grandchildren. We put the in-law in on the house and became the in-laws. And the kids moved into the main house. So it's the most wonderful feeling in the world to wake up in the morning and you have your grandchildren 37 feet, not that we measured, away from you. It's wonderful. Just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
What made you pick Whitman as a community that you wanted to settle down and have a family and be a part of the common thread that is called community?
Same reason why a lot of men do make decisions. My wife, she's a townie, so she's born and bred, grew up right over on Myrtle Ave, okay. So she's been here all her life, and it's a wonderful community. I grew up in Milton myself, small community. Everybody knows everyone's name. You know all the other kids, even in the other schools, and Whitman's quite similar as well through sports and athletics. Kids know who each other are. And it's a really wonderful, wonderful place to raise a family and to raise kids.
What made you decide 6 years ago, life isn't interesting enough. I think I want to run for school committee. What made you want to get involved with the educational realm of the community?
Now, public service is something that's always been important to me. From when I was a little child, my uncle, who was very active over in Newton, sort of instilled that, give back. That's sort of what I was told. So I've served on the Recreation Commission. I was chairman of Recreation way back when.
Wow.
I've done a tour on the Finance Committee. Very proud to have been on the high school feasibility study committee and then morphed into the high school building committee. So the schools were important to me from that. I just felt it was time. My business travel was slowing down a little bit. I went through a few years where I was doing 100,000 miles a year in the air, going crazy all over the country. Things were slowing down, felt there was a need, felt I could do some good, and therefore put my name in.
It's funny you mentioned, I didn't realize that you were somebody who was on the FinCom here in Whitman. I didn't realize that there's more people who had been on the FinCom. The first name that comes up is Steve Boyce, who is probably most recently, in my most recent memory, who was on it. What's it like to have that background where you understand the finances, not only of a community, but you understand a budget and you understand the needs and understand what's coming in for revenue to be able to match up with those needs?
And here we are the day after town meeting. And this was a horrible budget season. There are so many different little niche problems, within the town, centered around revenues. Simply not enough money for everyone and for everything to go around. Schools in particular, and that's, I put blinders on. I felt that we needed to advocate what our needs were for the schools. And what we advocated for and what we received was a very good assessment. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that the town supported us to the level they supported us, and it was with pain. But at the same time, all we did was tread water. If you go back historically, from 2000 to 2010, I believe it was, and that includes a couple of years where state aid or Chapter 70 money actually receded for us. Used to receive an increase of about 3% from Chapter 70. Since then, we're at 0.57%. Most recently, this past year, you're at 0.5% of an increase. Now, Chapter 70 money is 52% of our budget.
Well, is that because you're a district, because you have a shared district? Would it not be different if you were a standalone community?
Well, if you look at what some communities spend on education, in a regular community without a regional school district, you'll find communities spend 60, 70% of their annual
80.
budget, or 80.
Yep.
And the way the state has it designed is they don't want to see them spending any more than 80%. But you'll see them spend that type of money of their budget, of that pie that there is to share, on education and on schools. Whereas we receive 46% of the town's budget. Or at least that was according to a graph that I recently saw online. Could be a couple of years old, but it's within that realm. When things were good and the regional monies were very good, we thrive. We were thriving. And we were able to take maybe less. Now things are tough. I'm going back, back in the later 2000s, 2007, 2008, we took a zero. Right? Take a 0% increase on a hefty budget. It's very difficult to make up.
Right, yeah, costs continue to rise, whether it's OPEB, whether it's, the electricity, salaries, people don't realize that. And speaking of people, speaking of residents, and knowing that you have a history of serving on various boards and committees, sometimes, you now are someone who is an advocate for education. You're somebody who wants to make sure that the students that walk out, whether it's the end of May or the beginning of June, and have that piece of paper saying, I am a graduate of Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, is something that there's substance there. Sometimes you have residents who don't realize that you're a taxpayer, and while you may be asking, you may be one of 10 people asking for as much as whatever you can get to be able to fortify an annual budget or an assessment. You sometimes get people who don't realize that you're a taxpayer and you're somebody who is invested in the community.
Oh, absolutely. And when we vote a budget and we're voting to, increase our budget or our revenues from the towns, I'm increasing my own taxes.
Yeah. People don't realize that, though, do they?
A lot of times not, but give the public some credit. I mean, they do and they don't. And let's face it, everyone worries about their own kitchen table. You know, as you sit around your kitchen table and you're having the discussion, you know, even reading some of the comments socially today in social media, you know, people, so many items were approved last night without discussion. But you go on the recommendation, the Finance Committee, those guys work tirelessly in investigating every request and making recommendations. It's really a shame that their meetings aren't televised so that people could see how much ends up not getting put forward and ends up getting cut. You know, there are tremendous capital needs in this town. The town has a lot of challenges ahead of it in the future. That's why I'm hoping to get reelected. I really want to be part of that educationally. Everyone says, oh, you can just blame it on the kids and say it's for the children. But that's really not
Not a plausible excuse.
It's not, the truth.
It's not something that's plausible to put forth. You're doing it for not only for short term, but for long term growth of the educational system.
If we don't invest in today's kids, right, what's going to happen to the world? All right, we owe these kids, and I'm sorry, you talk about the difference between a right and a privilege, okay, a want and a need, all right? I'm sorry, it is a right of a child to expect to be able to get a good education.
Indeed.
It's just that simple. In today's world, everything moves so rapidly. Put an iPad in the hands of a 4-year-old. 10 minutes later, they're using it better than you or I. The sky's the limit for the kids, but you have to be able to give them the basic tools. How can you expect someone to build a house if you won't give them a saw, you won't give them a hammer, you won't give them any nails, and you won't give them the ability to carve out some wood? Yeah. Makes it very difficult and challenging. Yeah, I guess it can be done because, let's face it, our forefathers had none of those tools, but yet they were able to somehow be able to figure out how to make them and build shelter, etc. But it was really difficult. And there would have been an easier way, and if they had had those tools, where would we be as a society today? So we need to give these kids the tools. Every kid should have the right to have a language in middle school. We can't provide that right now. Okay, science classes, STEM, technology. You know, there's an awful lot that we're lacking in. And we're not saying to the taxpayer, okay, just give me your wallet, let's just have it. That doesn't work either. All right? We need a plan. We need to come up with a consistent way to try and control our expenses. And that's one thing that we'll be working on, and hopefully I'll be working on, I should say, come the future. But we do have fixed costs. We need to get money out of the state. We need the state to step up and pay their fair share of what they've promised us. And once we can do that, regional transportation, you know, there's a biggie right now. If they're funding it at 75%, they're still underfunding us compared to 100% at over $250,000 a year. That's a lot of money. That goes a long way toward the assessment. You know, circuit breaker. You know, they turned around, they had 9 C cuts. They wanted to take circuit breaker money away this fiscal year, never mind for next. It would have been devastating. You know, so that's when we write letters and have campaigns. I mean, go on Facebook right now. I've tried to cover all the popular pages. We need to contact our state senator. I don't know if I can make a push today. You know, is the 8th of May. We need to make a push to contact Senator Brady. They're going to be discussing in the Senate 2 particular amendments. Okay, one is to fully fund regional transportation, and the other is to have a review committee on the foundation budget for regional school districts. School regions are treated differently. When they look at that whole formula and the way they look at health insurance, you know, town department, they put forward their budget and they put forward their increase, say it's a 2% increase on the line item. That doesn't cover health insurance. Whereas our whole budget, where we're our own entity, includes health insurance. So the state really needs to look at how they fund us with Chapter 70, because they're hurting us, not helping us.
Talk to us about, you've covered a lot in just that one answer.
I'm sorry,
with
I
the question.
get
No,
going.
no, no,
I
no,
start
no,
rambling.
no. It's about you, and it's here to discuss you as a candidate for re-election, and hopefully you're somebody who was sworn back in on May 19th, knowing that there are two seats up. There are two seats up, three folks who are vying for it. One individual who's here right now who is an incumbent, served 2 terms, looking for a third. Talk to me about working with the current superintendent and knowing that there's another one that's coming in Jeff Simonak, who will take over the reins come the new fiscal year. Give me your thoughts on that, and hoping that you can work with Jeff to help him with his vision.
Oh, and I think that's definitively what you find right now is you find the current superintendent, you find Ruth sort of pulling back slightly. I mean, no mistake, she's still in charge. It's still her name. Mm-hmm. She's still driving the ship, so to speak. But she is letting Jeff hold the wheel here and there while she tells him where to go, so to speak, I guess would be the nice way to say it. He has input.
It's a transitional period.
Exactly.
It's a transitional period where she shows them where all the keys are and what the different aspects are and some of the initiatives, how she got to certain points in certain initiatives, and maybe give some, some pointers moving forward with his own
And I expect Jeff to be a different superintendent. I expect it to be a different administration.
Yeah.
Jeff more than likely will do things differently than the way Ruth does. There's more than one way to get to first base. You can walk, you can bunt, you can hit a single.
Guy.
I'm a sports guy.
He's a sports guy.
All right. Or, someone can make an error. So there's more than one way to do a lot of things. Well, I think what Jeff will be doing is what's going to be the most effective for him.
Sure.
I'm very enthused, very energetic, very sharp, very smart, very bright, great people skills, genuinely cares about the kids. If you go up and down the halls in Whitman-Hanson and you talk to the kids, nothing but admiration, for Jeff. And they know who he is. They know him, and they know his door's always open for him. So I'm very, very much enthused for that.
It sounds very reminiscent of the superintendent director over at South Shore VOTEC, Dr. Tom Hickey, who I've always been amazed anytime that we've gone over there. Again, it's a school system. It's a school district that Whitman and Hanson students can go over and share in with 8 other communities, but that a lot of the students know who he is and he knows who they are. And that's kind of a nice dynamic, that if you have a school superintendent who is that hands-on and knows these students, it kind of makes for, it's really nice.
Yeah, and especially when we were doing our superintendent search, we did some site visits. And to hear how well-spoken our students are in comparison to other students, and not taking anything away from the capabilities of the other people.
You're not diminishing anybody else's site.
Our kids are so well-spoken, articulate, are able to get their point across clearly, concisely. I mean, there's great things that happen up at that high school. I know myself, I'm very, very proud of what's happening. When I look at where we're at today, I also, and I hate to bring things back to the numbers, I'll bring it back to the budget.
Okay.
When the numbers started falling off, your little ones now, where are they going to be in 7, 8, 9 years when they're hitting that high school?
That's important.
That's where we have to have some enrichment. Talented and gifted. If you have a super bright kid, they get to the high school, there's AP courses, they can excel, they can fly. But until they get there, there's no spreading their wings.
And that bodes well for higher education, if they want to continue their education beyond high school, and whether they go for a bachelor's, or they go for a master's, or even go for the DR.
True, but in all aspects too, education, and don't get me wrong, higher education is a wonderful thing. How many kids really know, and you can have bright kids, how many know what they really want to do? How many, they graduate, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. Oh, I'm going to go to Florida because it's warm.
So many decisions.
How many really know what they want as a career at that point in their life? You know, it's very difficult. You know, it's up to us to give them as much guidance as possible and make sure that they know what their options are. But you know, it's a difficult time in life. You know, for some kids, college might not be the answer.
Sure.
Military school might be, you know, something that works better. And we've had some very, very prestigious awards, you know, so to speak, with some of our students lately. You know, that might be a different area. You may get somebody that says, geez, that's really not for me. I want to be an auto mechanic. You know, being an auto mechanic today, you know, you're part turning wrenches, you're part computer technician.
Yep.
You know, and you can make a very healthy living. It's all in what is going to be the right thing for that individual. You know, so while education is important and giving all the background and the basics, bringing them to be able to make that decision, you know, is what I think we're responsible for.
What do you feel are some of the, you know, here we are, we're winding down and there's not that much more time before the residents are going to be heading to the town hall to cast a ballot. Hopefully it's a sunny Saturday, the 19th. What do you feel that the real true issues or the real truth, the true things that residents who are watching this program right now need to consider when they go in and cast a ballot? Because I think your race is the only one that's on the ballot, right? Or is there another one?
No, we're the only race.
That's it?
That's it. I don't know what that's going to do for turnout. Turnout could be questionable.
Okay.
You know, especially if you look at the dynamics of the crowd that have children in the system. Those are the parents that are going crazy busy being at one soccer field or a baseball field,
Yep.
here, there, or everywhere on a Saturday. So that may bode differently. I would hope that the public feels comfortable to entrust my judgment, you know, knowing that basically I'm a fiscal conservative person. I don't want to waste money. I go up to sign a warrant, and I mean, heck, I'll tell you a funny story.
I like stories.
Stories are good.
Stories are good.
When we sign the warrants to approve payment, there's a summary sheet that just shows who the payment's to and the amount. And then you have the actual invoices. Right? I read every invoice. I don't go by the summary sheet. And I'm sitting there flipping through the invoices, and I see a stapler. And it's $123 for that stapler. And I sort of calmly can say, flipped out. I pull out my phone, I take the model number, and I Google it. And I see that you can buy that stapler for $58. Okay, well, why would we pay $123 for a $58 stapler? Off I march into the business office and question, you know, why are we doing this? Now, the company we got the stapler from is on the Mass State bid list. So they've already submitted their numbers, everything's approved, you don't have to, you're supposed to be getting a quality fair price because they're on the bid list. Okay, fine. It's only, you know, $50, $60, $70. It's not, you know, a ton of money, but at the same time, it's taxpayers' money. And we need to be responsible. So my words then were, if we're going to be spending money, let's make sure that if we got to buy it, let's spend as little as possible. Right. You know, get the product that we need.
Right.
You know, I'm sitting there flipping through, and I see a can of glass cleaner. Sprayway glass cleaner, no plug for Sprayway, but I happen to buy it. It's a great product. And I know it's $1.91 at Lowe's or Home Depot. Okay. Just one of the stupid things I remember. Well, I see that we paid $3.95 for a bottle. Why are we doing that? Okay, because we had someone empowered that when they were picking up a vehicle, they were at a stand and they could get that can of window cleaner for that price. You know, instead of, I'm sure we have window cleaner back at the school. I don't know why they did that. But again, it was, we can't be doing this. You know, it's not proper. You know, it's taxpayers' money. You can't waste taxpayers' money. That's who I am.
We got less than 5 minutes left, and a couple things I want to make sure we get to.
Okay.
As you mentioned, town meeting recently concluded, and one of the two warnings that we heard, not only from the town administrator Frank Leiner, but we also heard from Mr. Anderson, Rick Anderson. I call him Rich. I don't know. Sorry, Mr. Anderson. But both of them made sure they put forth warnings. And Mr. Anderson, of course, is the chair of Whitman's Finance Committee. But it was a matter of, we got through this budget season to take care of, fiscal 2019. But we're already kind of seeing the problem for 2020, and something needs to be done. Talk to me about the value of experience and you being able to be hopefully a member for another term to help tackle and address an issue like this when it comes to the budgets, whether it's for the municipality or for the school district.
And what's good for the school needs to be good for the municipality. And that's something that's not in the future, it's something we've already started. The incoming superintendent intends to tear the budget down to zero and build it back up.
Zero-based budgeting, huh?
You're not talking a day's worth of work or a week or a month. You're talking months worth of work between every position, every building.
Fantastic.
Okay. But that's how we're going to start. We're going to go from scratch and see where we're at.
Is this going to be, has Mr. Simonak kind of given a prognosis that this is what he's going to do on an annual basis, or is this just his very first budget, that's what he'll attempt to do?
At this time, and I don't want to put words in his mouth,
Right.
I know that this was something I was advocating for. He agreed that, at first, we have to build things down to zero,
Okay.
and then build up.
Okay.
So we're already worried about that. We've got capital needs. We've got to worry about those.
Indeed.
So it's going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge that we can rise up to. And with the proper hard work and the proper planning and, dare say, a little bit of luck, from the state, et cetera. School's going to open next September.
Okay.
It's going to open up the September after that and the year after that. And that's a quote that Bob Hayes attributes to John McEwen, Dr. McEwen, our former superintendent. No matter what, school's going to open.
Okay. We've got less than 2 minutes, and I think it's important for you to look into the camera and tell residents, you got 30 seconds to tell them why they should remember your name on May 19th when they go to vote. Cast a ballot in the town of Whitman.
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Fred Small, or as it's on the ballot, Frederick Small. Experience. This would be my third term. I'm a dedicated hard worker. I am not the school committee member that misses meetings. When I've had to travel, I phone in and participate remotely. I'm also on a multitude of different subcommittees. I chair the Facility and Capital Improvement Subcommittee. I care. I care what happens to the kids in this town. I care what happens to the kids in Hanson as well. We're a region. We have to care about everyone. And I care of the burden that we place on our taxpayer. There's no perfect answer to everything, but I assure you that I'm going to work my best and do my best to be my best. And I'm hoping that you can vote for me come May 19th.
Best of luck, sir. Okay. And remember, it's up to you as the voter, whether you're in the town of Whitman or Hanson, to get informed about the candidates. We here at Whitman Hanson Community Access are doing our best to have the candidates in, to sit down, discuss the issues, so you can at least somewhat have some background on them before you go and make that decision. And we, of course, not only do we show these programs on our PEG Access channels, but they're also available on YouTube. Any questions, feel free to send them to us at info@whca.tv. And until next time, Have yourself a great day.